under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our eyes. The crowds roar like a storm on the wind. We're the underdogs fighting again.
What's going on, guys, and welcome to Stateside Footy and another edition of the MLS live stream. As tonight, the Chicago Fire play host to FC Cincinnati, a little Midwestern duel here on this Saturday night. And quite honestly, I got to be honest with you, it's looking like it's going to be quite the soccer match tonight, man. I got to be honest with you. Now, for all those Chicago haters out there, and let me be specific, for all those dudes that just like to dunk on a guy like Gregg Berhalter, man, consider this. When he took over the Chicago Fire, they were absolute dog shit. Absolute in the toilet dog shit. Not as bad as San Jose. San Jose was pretty bad. But, you know, Chicago were completely mismanaged in pretty much every single facet of what a franchise should look like. In steps Gregg Berhalter, and all of a sudden there's the turnaround. And here we are now at the start of the 2026 season, 10 games in to the 2026 season. And all of a sudden they're sitting in third place. Now, granted, we have no idea exactly how it's going to look like at the end of the 2026 season. But that being said, man, congratulations. That is a hell of a turnaround. As for FC Cincinnati, it's kind of been a slow burn because FC Cincinnati over the course of the last two seasons in Major League Soccer have been right up there in the Eastern Conference, dueling Columbus for the best, for the best in Ohio, and on top of that, essentially, the 1A to the 1A to the 1B in the Eastern Conference. Who's going to be coming out of the Eastern Conference between them and Miami, and all of a sudden now this season starts, and all of a sudden it's kind of been a slow burn. Hasn't really gotten off to the type of start that you would expect with a dude, for a team that has a dude like Evander on it. And it just is what it is for FC Cincinnati. But that being said, again, there's still a lot of soccer to play this season in Major League Soccer. So who knows exactly how that is going to turn out. Before we begin tonight, before we actually get into it, please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and also hit the notification bell as well too, so you don't miss out on any upcoming Stateside Footy content. Of course, I want to say what's up to all the homies that are tuning in on TikTok Live. It's good to see you guys tonight. For those that are tuning in X and Facebook, and of course those are on YouTube as well too. It's good to have you guys in tonight. All of that is pretty goddamn sweet. Quickly, a couple nights ago on Thursday, there was a show planned. And for those that were tuning in to see me and Fabian Rinkel talk a little bit about Vancouver, right before we went on air, man, I'm seriously, like 30 seconds before I got on air, my studio hits the number as the power went out right before we went live. And of course, studio didn't get power until 1 o'clock in the morning. So that show has been moved to this upcoming Monday evening at 7:30. So I do apologize for those that were tuning in. expecting to see expecting to hear a conversation with Fabian. That show will take place again on Monday. So again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and also hit the notification bell. All right, so let's go ahead and get into tonight's starting 11. Brought to you in part by me and maybe that Seahawk helmet that's right underneath my finger. You guys can't see it on TikTok, but believe me, it's right there on the shelf. And of course, Chicago tonight lines up in a 4-3-3. And in net tonight, of course, is U.S. men's national team number 3, Chris Brady. A back four of Gutman, Mbokazi, Elliott, and Dean. A midfield 3 of Robin Lod, Davila, and Salastros. And attacking a 3 of Haile Selassie, Zickernagel, and Hugo Kuipers as the number 9. And it's quite interesting. It's actually, your standard Gregg Berhalter starting 11. And of course, what I like about Chicago is the fact that they've tightened things up a little bit on defense. And again, when you're talking about the evolution of the Chicago Fire, one of the things that they have been notorious for is spending vast amounts of money on attacking players while neglecting their back line. And historically, really over the course of the last 10 years, historically, they've been one of the worst defensive teams. And of course, coming into the season, again, 17 points through 9, 17 goals for, only 8 conceded, a +9 goal differential. So from that standpoint, it seems like Chicago has kind of does have the secret sauce when it comes to that starting 11. And again, who knows exactly how this thing will play out, but again, so far so good. For FC Cincinnati, they're going to be lined up in a 3-4-1-2. US M&T pool player goalkeeper Roman Celentano will be in net for FC Cincinnati. A back 3 of Smith, Chirilla, and Guidi. A midfield 4 of Buca, Valenzuela, Anunga, and Ramirez. Underneath, playing the number 10, of course, is Evander. And of course, up top, in the 2-striker formation will be Dem and Denke. And of course, Denke currently leads FC Cincinnati in goals scored this season. And he certainly has been something that has been quite unbelievable. But, again, Denke has actually been pretty solid. So in his tenure with FC Cincinnati. So we will be getting started in just a few minutes. But it's interesting, though, when we're looking at Major League Soccer in the Eastern Conference, and of course, Inter Miami is going to be that team. Now, granted, it's kind of different. It's kind of different because yes, they have Messi, and they actually did have some nice, they did have some nice offseason moves. But the 2 key players that were kind of the engine of what Inter Miami was over the course of the last couple seasons. And of course, that was Sergio Busquets, mainly Sergio Busquets, because he was like the go get shit done piece for Inter Miami. And it allowed their 2 center backs to be able to play free and to be able to, be in a position where they just didn't allow any type of counterattacking situations. And of course, they had Jordi Alba as well, too. And when those 2 left, one of the things that it did, it was to put the onus on that defensive back line to kind of continue to play that next level type of defense. And they haven't really been able to do it. As a matter of fact, Inter Miami has kind of conceded 16 through their first 11, which is actually kind of unsightly. Now, granted, they're still going to score a shitload of goals, and that's always going to happen. But one of the things that ended up happening was a very good defense kind of turned into a little bit of a average defense. And what has happened now is you're starting to see teams all of a sudden catch up, yes, but also play a little bit better. Of course, you have Nashville SC at the top of the East by 1 point. They're going to be there all season, but now all of a sudden Chicago sitting in 3rd place on 17 points. Shit, the New England Revolution are playing pretty good this season in the Eastern Conference, also on 17 points. Columbus is starting to climb the table now. Charlotte's still there. Yeah, I'm not really going to gloss Toronto tonight. I'm just not going to do it. They're kind of like in that, what have you done for me lately type of category. But the New York Red Bulls potentially can be capable. Same thing with NYCFC, and then there's FC Cincinnati sitting in 10th place on 12 points. And of course, if they go on a run of like 5 unbeaten and 7, and all of a sudden they're going to be put in a position where they're going to be barking into the top 5. Both of these two teams that are featuring tonight equally have a good opportunity if they can actually get on a nice little run where they reel off some games, and all of a sudden that Eastern Conference is going to be jam packed. When you look at the table right now, it seems like it is jam packed, but there's going to be some separation. And the question that for teams like Chicago, it's, are you capable of beating the teams in front of you when it matters? We are going to find out. We are definitely going to find out. Tonight's kind of a big one for Chicago because they are playing, a team that over the course of the last couple seasons have been one of those type of teams. Granted, it might be a slow start for Cincinnati, but any team that has, that type of impact with a guy like Evander, that would be a good type of statement win for Chicago. So we are going to find out quickly what the Chicago team is going to be made of. So I'm curious to see what you guys feel this game is going to come down to. Who are going to be your players to watch tonight? Also, what you guys think the score is going to be. So go ahead and leave your predictions. I have been burned on a few occasions by picking the road team. Sometimes I get swept up in the name of the team and maybe even certain players where I've been kind of burned a couple times. I mean, the matchups were good for the road team to go in there and get it. I've been burned. So it is what it is. Like a small part of me would like to see Cincinnati do it today. But that being said, it's like it's the home team. And Chicago has actually been pretty good, man. Chicago's been really good. Hugo Kuipers leads the team in goals. Zickernagel has actually been very efficient on that right side, and their midfield has actually been pretty good as well too. So the question really becomes, how do I see this one turning out? And I like Chicago's defense at home, so I'm going to take the Fire. I'm going to say 3-1 Chicago tonight, and they're going to get that victory. And they're going to move from 17 to 20 and really firm themselves and entrench themselves into third place in the Eastern Conference. That's kind of where I see tonight's games going. So we will definitely find out as we are getting very close to kick. As I gotta do something real quick. There we go. I have to turn off subtitles. As it's going to be interesting, man. What I like about Chicago specifically is they have dudes on that defensive line, specifically Embo Kazi as a left center back. It's kind of interesting too because you have a tendency of guys either going too hard or not going hard enough. Guys that are maybe a little hesitant to stepping into tackles, making challenges. These two guys seem to play well off each other, which is what I like. But Embo Kazi really does a very good job of kind of playing with no fear. Like he's willing to make those type of sliding tackles in the box. And it just seems like he's that type of guy that kind of fires up that entire back four. Because he's willing to step up and close down space, because he's willing to step into a tackle, because he's willing to do the necessary things to whether it's blocking a shot or whether it's whether it's closing down attackers coming around the corner, right? That back four seems to feed off of it. And so when I'm kind of thinking about this matchup again, I don't know, man. I can't pick against Chicago. I really can't. That's kind of the way that I see it. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly how Cincinnati really comes at the Chicago team, because one of the things that they're probably looking for is that early goal. If you're that road team tonight, if you're FC Cincinnati, that's exactly what you have to look for. And of course, this is, obviously where, Evander comes into play, where Degge comes into play, where if you have a decent opportunity early, take your opportunities, bury those opportunities, and really do yourself a solid by taking the crowd out of this one. If they're, well, it's Chicago, so you never know if there's going to be a crowd. No disrespect to Chicago, but man, it's going to be fun tonight, guys. Quick question for you guys out there tonight. Is Chicago legit? When you're looking at the Eastern Conference as a whole, do you guys think the Fire have enough to, let's just say, win a trophy this season, whether that's Leagues Cup, whether that might be MLS Cup? It's kind of interesting, right? Because when I look at the construction of this Chicago team, I don't necessarily see a bad team. But I question whether or not they're going to have enough pieces in order to get this one done. Now, that also comes into play the summer transfer window and whether or not they're going to be active. A big part of me thinks that they are probably going to be active because, again, it's going to be interesting to see if they end up landing that one big piece that they've been chasing for a year now. And of course, I'm talking about Lewandowski. I keep hearing that is something that they want to do. And if they are to land a player of that caliber, will that give them enough? It's not an issue of whether they're going to win the East, because I don't really give a shit about whether you win your conference or not, right? The whole point is to get in, to avoid the wild card, just to get in, and then from there take it a series at a time until you put yourself in the Eastern Conference Finals. And then from that standpoint, you put yourself in a very decent position to show. As of right now, I think Chicago probably has one of the best defenses in the Eastern Conference, but the question is whether or not they're going to have that goal scoring production consistently throughout. That's my only one concern about the Chicago team. And of course, all of that plays into the summer transfer window, because if they can pick up that secondary piece that is going to be a decent goal scoring, to provide that goal scoring production alongside a guy like Hugo Kuipers, the answer from that standpoint becomes 100% yes. I kind of do like it. And would I tip Chicago to potentially knock off an Inter Miami? It depends on where the game is played. If it's in Miami, no. If it's in Chicago, yes. I think it's going to be one of those type of situations. I really do. So we are getting pretty close to the start of this one. Man, I'm fired up, man. I kind of do enjoy the Chicago Fire. I know it's kind of weird being a Seattle guy. I was thinking about doing the Seattle game this afternoon. I ended up not doing it because I think they were playing Sporting KC. Yeah, I saw a clip on X today with Christian Roldan, and that back pass, that wasn't pretty. So as we get into this one, let's see, win probabilities tonight. So Chicago has a 54.8% chance of winning tonight. They are a minus 145. Cincinnati has a 23.1% chance of winning. They're a plus 320. A draw is a plus 330, sitting at 22.1%. So there are your probabilities. I will let you know who the referees are for tonight. It doesn't matter. They're all shitty. But in case you're interested, Joe Dickerson is going to be your head referee. And of course, he is going to be flanked by Cameron Blanchard and Logan Brown. Pro refs are just fucking horrible. In the VAR booth is going to be Craig Lowry and his assistant will be Jose Carlos Rivero. So those are your referees as we are getting set for this one. As FC Cincinnati will be in their away blues. Yeah, I'm not a fan of those. Yeah, that's what, blue on orange. Yeah. And of course, Chicago is going to be in their home reds. And it looks like Chicago will be playing from right to left, as FC Cincinnati will be having possession, as that one is going to be played all the way back to their center backs. And it's a team that's not going to throw away possession right off the gate. So that's actually a first, as Cincinnati will come away with possession out of the scrum off the left-sided touch line, as they're going to work this one all the way down to the right. And yeah, they're gonna pass it between their center backs, because why not, right? Everybody's got to touch the ball. As this one makes its way back to Roman Celentano. Nope, back to Celentano. There you go. There you go. The ball is meant to be played forward, as they're going to try to make the switch down the left-hand side. They actually find somebody open. And that ball gets passed back to their center backs. And now they're going to try to play one forward, and there's just nobody there, as that one will go past the end line. So Chris Brady will have the goal kick. So Cincinnati's first possession was a snoozer, as the need for possession outweighed the need to get forward. So Chicago will have their first goal kick of the night. And we'll see what the Chicago Fire, how they'll play this one out of the back. And of course, that one will go to the right, as Chris Brady will play this one long, as that's going to take a header forward. Now all of a sudden the Fire have 3-on-2, as that one gets played to the left. Chip forward, there's Kuipers, and he puts one over the bar. Oh, Hugo was in a good position to put the Chicago Fire up 1-0 quick for the first 2 minutes. Good passing forward by the Chicago Fire, as Hugo Kuipers nearly made him pay right there. That was a good pass to the left-hand side. As Holly Salisi just left it off there for Hugo Kuipers, and Kuipers plays one over the crossbar. So a very good message of intent for the Chicago Fire. Celentano will play this one long. As that comes down to Fire possession, as that one gets played forward, and I think they're going to say, what, offside? No, they're going to say that ball went out of bounds. Not a bad crowd in Chicago, not a great crowd, but it's not a terrible crowd, as Gutman will head that ball forward, as Haile Salese will lose control of it, as Cincinnati will come away with possession, as I'm sure they're going to pass this ball back between their center backs 6 times before moving it forward. Nope, just twice. Oh, there's the back pass. There we go. Way to go, Cincinnati. There it is. Ooh, there's a ball into the midfield. How about, oh, there you go. And there's a ball that's going to go forward down the left-hand line. That's good defense right there by Chicago, as Dean will get there first and play it out. Excuse me, that was Elliott. The right center back right there. As that was, I think that might have been Kevin Denke right there that was moving forward. as Cincinnati will have the throw in here, as it's Valenzuela. And there's a ball that's into the box, as that's quickly headed out. And now Evander. Nope, it was Ramirez who took a rip, as he sends one over the crossbar there. Not a bad shot right there by Cincinnati. As we are closing in on the first 5 minutes, both teams have had a look at net. Both teams have played it over the crossbar. So Chicago now will have yet another goal kick here, as they're going to be playing this one out of the back, as Chris Brady plays it forward. And that's a good ball into the midfield. Here's Hugo Kuipers. Try to play it forward, and that's going to be taken away by Cincinnati. Here's Denke, and they're going to call a foul. And it looks like that's going to be against Davila. So Cincinnati here is going to have a free kick right outside the 18-yard box. Yeah, from about 25 yards away, a little bit off the left-hand side. And it will be Evander. Everybody's favorite Brazilian Evander. As he will play this one in. That's going to hit the two-man wall. But Cincinnati will hold possession, as that one gets played all the way back to Roman Celentano for some odd reason. So Celentano will play this forward, and there's Gutman right there to head it forward, as that'll fall to Evander, and there's going to be a whistle, so it's going to go to Chicago. And Evander is not happy, as he thought maybe the initial contact went off the hand. Needless to say, Chicago will have possession here. That's a good little play right here for Haile Selassie, as he will play this one forward, taken away. As Cincinnati now, it looks like they'll keep position as that ball goes out off of Davila. That's a good little combination play. And that ball will go out of bounds after a bad pass. So Chicago now will play this one in. As we take a look at FC Cincinnati's head coach, Pat Noonan. The lesser known of the Noonan brothers. Of course, his famous older brother, Danny. No. That's a joke. For all those that have watched Caddyshack. Cincinnati will have possession here. As that ball will get played down the left-hand side. That's a good ball over the top. Looking for Denke. But there's Chris Brady. That was a really good ball over the top right there. As this ball gets passed back to Chris Brady. Brady most likely will be on the World Cup roster as the number 3, as Pochettino and his staff had glowing reviews of Chris Brady in the last camp. As Chicago now is trying to work their way out of traffic. They do. Here's a ball down the left-hand side. Here's Selassie. Plays it in. And that's going to be played out by Cincinnati. That's a good ball down the left-hand side. And now that ball will go all the way to the left. And, ooh. Here's Evander, tries to play one. That shot gets blocked, but he gets his own rebound. And now Chicago will take it away. No call on Evander, as that ball tries to get played up to Hugo Kuipers. That was just a bad pass forward. So here comes Cincinnati. Here in the midfield, here's Evander. Oh, yeah, there's going to be a foul right there, 100%. That's going to go against Davila again. As the ref said, this is your last warning. There's Gregg. As play resumes here. Yeah, Cincinnati miraculously is able to hold on the ball. As this over-reliant on possession allows the opponent just to close down space. And this is where turnovers happen. And there it is. As Chicago comes away with it. Here's Salistros. As that's got to get played back all the way to Chris Brady. As Brady will just hold on to this for a second. As he plays this long. Headed forward as Kuiper chases, but there's a deflection. Here's Chicago. As Gutman now will play this into the mid. That's a good ball forward. Nothing doing there. As Cincinnati will take possession away. As that'll get out. And it looks like Cincinnati will have... Will this be? Yeah, it will be a Cincinnati throw-in. All right, fair. Last touch by Dean. This crazy want and need just to play possession ball, possession-based ball is just insane. As that one will get out of bounds. They're going to say last touch by Chicago. As Hugo Kuipers did a good job of pressing the inbounds pass right there. But this insatiable need just to have this high possession-based game, all it does is push the ball backwards and invite pressure, which results in turnovers. Just be a little bit more direct and get the ball up the pitch. You're gonna find yourself with a little bit better results. As that ball was switched to the right-hand side, unfortunately there was nobody there, so that'll go out. So Chicago will have the throw in here as we are at the 13-minute mark here in the first half. As that's a turnover. As it didn't look like Chicago could hold on to that one, as that pass was just a little too high. So Cincinnati, again, will have possession as they pass it around their center backs. As Evander drops deep there to make a touch. Yep. Pass it back. Yeah. All defenders got to touch the ball. There you go. As nobody's making a run. As that ball gets passed back again. Dude on the left wing just stood there. As coming into this one, I think Cincinnati's allowed 23 goals in all comps this year. Here's Evander. As now they push this to the right now. And now they'll try to swing it back to the left-hand side. Chicago's got it well defended. Here's Denke. That's a good pass forward. Here's Evander. Good shift forward. Oh, trying to find... looks like they were trying to find Dem right there. But Chicago does a good job of sniffing it out as they have possession now. As Brady will play it to the right. As that ball will find Elliott on the right-hand side. So now Chicago's finally going to move it up the right wing. Here's Salistros. That's a good ball up the right wing. Here we go, finally. There's a ball in. It finds Kuipers. He shoots. Oh, and it goes in off the redirection. Chicago gets on the board in the 15th minute. Hugo Kuipers. And, of course, he is their team leader in goals scored. Chicago grabs the early 1-0 lead here. God, you were wondering which team was going to get forward. And it's Chicago, and that was a really good through ball up the right-hand side. Good ball into the box, too, as it finds Kuipers, and it takes a redirection off of Chirilla. And it's 1-0 Chicago. That was a good ball into the box, too. All right. So Chicago. I like it. Hugo. So play resumes. And looks like Chicago will come down with possession here. After that ball was headed around a few different times. As that one gets played all the way back to Chris Brady. Why? It didn't need it. As it looks like Hugo was making a run. And Mbokazi tried to make that pass. That one was redirected, but Chicago will still have possession here. As Elliott will pass it back to Mbokazi. And now that's back to Chris Brady. And so Chicago will try to reset here. Here's Gutman. And here's Hugo. Under pressure from the back. But Kuipers remains resolute here. As Chicago will play it down the left-hand side. Here's Robin Ladd. Tries to play it forward. That's going to take a redirection. Chicago will have a corner now. So maybe, maybe Chicago will double their lead here real quick. Wouldn't surprise me if Home Dew got fired. As Cincinnati is vastly underapproved. That ball's going to get whipped in. That's going to get headed away, but Chicago will try to hold it in the box. They will. And why are you passing it back to Chris Brady? You just conceded the entire field. Ugh. Why? Now you're back passing yet again. You had prime real estate. All you had to do was play it to the left-hand side, chip a ball in, potentially score another goal. And now you've conceded the entire length of the pitch. Good Lord. Who is teaching him this awful football? As Cincinnati will take this one away. And here comes Cincy now. They're going to try to chip this one to the left. That was a bad pass. As it'll find Hugo Kuipers, but miraculously Cincinnati will come away with this one. As this one gets past to Chirilla, who swings it out left. As Chicago is pressing here. And I think play has stopped now. For Chirilla, who kind of hit the deck there, but he's all right. Play is resumed. God, style of play is just killing me. As this ball will go forward down the left-hand side. As Evander catches up with it, just to keep possession. As that one gets played back to Chirilla. Good Lord. As there's going to be a whistle. As, again, this one will go against Avila. So this will be a free kick for Cincinnati here, as we're 21 minutes here in the first half. Chicago leads by 1. And there's going to be another whistle here as Denke goes down. As they're going to say Elliott was the guilty party here. As this one will swing all the way to the left. As Cincinnati spent most of their time right in the midfield portion of the pitch. Now they're getting forward a little bit. And now they're going to go back. Back. Side to the right. Back again. Yeah, dude, they're just playing this possession game in the middle of the park. It's now they play it all the way back to Celentano. As last touch. They're going to say last touch by Chicago. That was very much last touch by Cincinnati, but I guess the refs are in, I guess the refs want charity work tonight. Fair enough. As this ball will get played in and played all the way to the left. There's space here. Here's Evander. Dribbling between 2 defenders, getting 4. That's a good fall through. Here's Denke. Denke tries to play one. Ooh, and it's a goal. And it's Evander who scores. Oh. Look at what happens when Cincinnati gets forward. As that was Evander. As Denke played one across the 6-yard box. And it was Buka who attacked it. And Buka just played it forward as it redirected off of Mbokazi right to Evander sitting literally right there. center goal, and he just finishes it between two Chicago Fire defenders. So there you go. Evander evens the score here in the 24th and a half minute as play resumes. As this one will get out, and I think this is going to be a Chicago Fire corner. So now all of a sudden we got ourselves a good old-fashioned soccer match here as we're approaching the 25th minute here in the first half. As it looks like Salistros will be taking this corner here. That dude looks like a dork. As that ball gets played in. Ooh! Headed forward. Oh, and Gutman tried to get there. Hugo Kuipers fights for it. There's going to be a foul. And I think this is going against Chicago. Gutsy play right there by Gutman. He was trying to bicycle kick that thing. That was a good ball in as Gutman played it to the back post. As he came back to get that ball, he bicycle kicked it right into Valenzuela's face. That was pretty cool. As Chicago finally clears it away as Cincinnati was making their way forward. All of a sudden, this snoozer has started getting a little bit exciting here as Cincinnati decided all of a sudden they were going to play football. As this one gets chipped up the left-hand side. As that's taken away by the Fire. And that's going to get played out. And I think this is going back to Chicago. Yeah, it is. As that one was thrown all the way back to Elliott. And that was taken away by Cincinnati. Here we go. As Denke played a ball on net, but there was Chris Brady. That was done by Kevin Denke. They had a 3-on-1. As Davila will play it back to Elliott. Here's Dean. He's going to play one forward. That's a good ball forward. Here comes Chicago now. Here's Kuipers. Oh, and he scores again. Hugo Kuipers does it again. And it's 2-1 Chicago. Hey, that's the MLS I know and love. Bad defenses. As we have Cesar Sanchez. Sup? Go Fire. Sup, brother? Why isn't Slonina in the men's national team? Because he's not playing for Chelsea. That's why. As that was just a nice little feed right there down the right-hand side. It was a good way of staying with that ball too, as Zickernagel was under pressure right there, but he stays with the ball and points out Hugo Kuipers, who just puts a good solid shot in. Again, it gets redirected, but right back into the Cincinnati net. So again, Hugo Kuipers scores. And it's 2-1 Chicago, as that ball was errant. And now Chicago comes away with the ball yet again. So sloppy play by Cincinnati as Davila. Will play one out of bounds. As that'll go to Cincinnati. 2 goals here in the first half for Hugo Kuipers, as he has 15 touches so far here in the first half. Evander has 23. As Hugo Kuipers, again, causing a ruckus as that one's going to get out. I think this is going to be a corner. Are they going to say last touch by Chicago? They're going to say it's a foul. Yeah, it's terrible refereeing. But Hugo's been a menace. Two first half goals by Hugo as we are now pushing the 30th minute. 15 minutes remain here in the first half. As Chicago will hold possession, and now they're kind of being pressured here. As they're going to say there's a foul against Denke. So this will actually end up being a goal kick. I don't know about that. I think caught a break right there because that looked like he tapped it out. That should have been a corner for Cincinnati. That's a good pass that's taken away. Here comes Cincinnati. It's Evander who plays one on, and oh my God, he buried it. Evander gets his second of the first half, and it's 2-2. Oh, Evander gets one past Brady, and he's got his second of the first half. And so Cincinnati has carved up Chicago's defense. Well, let's be real. Evander's carved up Chicago's defense from the top of the 18-yard box, and he beats Chris Brady off a very good sliding interception. I think that might have been, that was Buka with the sliding interception. And he just played it straight into Evander, who dribbled forward to the top central part of the 18 and just puts one on and beats him to the right-hand side. Oh boy, and it's 2-2. All right. Bad defenses galore. Or bad defending, I should say. Chicago's actually got a pretty solid defense, but Evander. And this one will go out of bounds. So now Chicago will have a throw in deep in Cincinnati's territory. That was terrible as this ball gets played forward. Here's Zickernickel. And that's going to be taken away by Cincinnati. That's good defense. And nearly taken away by Chicago. And it is taken away by Chicago. Here's Zickernickel. He's going to shoot. Ooh, and he just missed it. As he decides to go near post, trying to beat Celentano. Not a bad idea. As we are now in the 33rd minute, this has been entertaining as that one's going to get out. That's a bad pass by Celentano. So now Chicago has another throw-in. Here's Mbokazi. Plays one forward. Here's Haile Selassie. And now they'll try the right-hand side. Here's Dean. He's got nowhere to go. He's got to play it back. Mbokazi. Chicago now will play it to the right-hand side. Here's Salastros. Lays it off. Zickernickel plays one in. Ooh, and it finds Hugo Kuipers, but right there was Celentano with a good save right there. Jesus Christ, man. Hugo Kuipers is just in the right areas. Dude, he was left unmarked there. That should have been goal number 3. Good save by Roman Celentano. As Buka tries to play one forward, he does. And that was just a bad pass, but I think there's going to be a foul here. As they're going to hit the restart button here for Cincinnati. So 4 goals scored in the first, 32 minutes? As that was too heavy of a touch, so Chicago will take over. As that'll take a touch off Bucher there. So Chicago will have to throw in. As they'll try to move to the right-hand side with Elliott. Now back to the left-hand side. Here's Gutman. As Haile Selassie couldn't go anywhere. Ultimately, it finds its way back to the right-hand side. And Elliott will play this one forward as Hugo Kuipers does a really good job. And Chicago's trying to cut through a midfield. That was just a bad pass forward. So here comes Cincinnati, and it's a Vanda. As Cincinnati will come away with this one. As this one gets played back to Celentano. As Roman has featured a couple times in U.S. men's national team camps. But, yeah, it looks like Chris Brady most likely will be that third guy behind Matt Freese and Matt Turner, the Mats. As that pass gets redirected out past the end line. So, again, this will be a goal kick for Cincinnati as they were pressed back deep into their own end. There's Gregg. With 2 Gs. As this one will be headed forward. As Zickernickel tries to make a run for it, but Cincinnati has to play this one out. So this will be a throw-in for Chicago. As Dean will throw this one in, as it's going to be headed and cleared away by Cincinnati. But Mbokazi is there. Plays it forward. Here's Kuipers to Haile Selassie. And Kuipers will play this one back. God, play one in for Christ's sake. As this one gets played forward by Kuipers. Kuipers will play one in. Here's Salistros. As it finds Zickernickel. And they're going to call that a foul. Where's the foul? That's a nice touch by oh, they're going to say it touched his hand. Oh, okay. Looked like he was pushed. Looks like he was pushed into the ball. Nonetheless, Chicago takes the ball right back. As that one's taken away. Here's Denke. He's going to try to play one forward. As there's no call. As Cincinnati just stopped, assuming there was going to be a whistle. You can't assume that, Holmes. You got to play to the whistle. And now Zinkernickel finally makes a run. That's a good ball in. Here's Zinkernickel, and he shoots it wide. Oh. Good way to work that one in. As Zinkernickel made a run from the inside, and he puts one on. He just pushes it wide, way wide. As here comes Cincinnati trying to play it out of the back. As he was pressured. As Chicago comes away with it here. As Hugo Kuipers. As there's a chip to the right-hand side, and it's going to be Dean here. There's Zinkernickel. He's going to play one in, and that's going to be headed out. But held in by Chicago. As Gutman. As Salistros was bumped. As Denke will take this one away. Here comes Cincinnati now. Plays it out to the left. As Zinkernickel went flying there. No call, though. As Cincinnati now will just hold it amongst their center backs. Here's Evander. As we are now in the 41st plus 30. As we're approaching halftime here. 2-2. Not a bad first half for both Hugo Kuipers and Evander. As that one was nearly taken away by Chicago. As they're going to have to play this one back to their defenders here. As that one will get played forward down the left-hand side, and that's a little too far forward, so that'll get out for a throw. As Chicago will have the throw-in. As here's Salistros now. He's got Akers to dribble down that right-hand side. He stops. As Chicago now. As Mbokasi will play it back to Elliott as they're looking down this right-hand side quite a bit. And why not? Because they've actually had quite some success. And here's Mbokasi. He will play this one long. And it's going to be out of bounds, so Gutman will quickly play it in to Hugo Kuipers. Here's Zinkernickel. And he's going to take one. Ooh, nice save by Celentano. Not a bad shot right there by Zinkernickel. As he just took a dribble into his left and just played one. As Celentano had to make a full reach right there. Good save right there by Roman. So Chicago will have the corner. And it'll be Salistros. As he plays one back post. Here's Selassie. Back to Zinkernickel. There's a ball in. As that's headed even farther. as they're going to say that's offside. As we are approaching the 45th minute now, just a little over 30 seconds. As Chicago and FC Cincinnati both getting 2 goals here in the first half. Neither really holding the lead longer than 2-3 minutes. As Buka tries to dribble out of trouble, Chicago will take this one away, and Gutman throws it away, but then Chicago gets it right back. Here's Salistros. 1 minute of extra time here at the end of the first half. As this one will be played out. So this will be a goal kick here for Cincinnati, as we have about 30 more seconds left. As Roman Celentano will probably boot this one away. Yeah, those are pretty nifty little goalkeeper colors. Looks like he's wearing the purple on purple, as that one will be the end of the first half. So Chicago and FC Cincinnati are knotted here in the first half, as FC Cincinnati will lead the possession battle 55-45. XG Chicago 1.18 to Cincinnati's 0.86. Total shots 8-7 to Chicago. Shots on target 4-3 to Chicago. Both teams have had one big chance, and both have scored off of it. Accurate passes, Cincinnati 230 to Chicago's 184. Fouls committed, Chicago 8, Cincinnati 1. And Chicago leads the quarter battle 3-0. Inside the XG from open play, Chicago 1.03 to Cincinnati's 0.81. XG from set plays, Chicago 0.15 to Cincinnati's 0.05. When we're looking inside the shots, no team has hit the woodwork, although Cincinnati does have 3 blocked shots. Shots inside the box, Chicago 7, Cincinnati 2. Shots outside the box, Cincinnati 5, Chicago 1. Total passes, 264 to Cincinnati, 214 to Chicago. Passes in the own half, Cincinnati 159, Chicago 101. Passes in the opposition half, 83-71 to Chicago. Accurate long balls, 10-8 Cincinnati. Accurate crosses, 4-0 to Chicago. Throws, 10-8 to Chicago. Touches in the opposition box, 19-3 for Chicago. And the Fire have been offside to Cincinnati's none. No team has any yellow cards. On the defensive side, Chicago does lead the tackle battle 7-5. The interception battle, Cincinnati 5, Chicago 2. But the Fire have 3 blocks to Cincinnati's 1. Clearances 10-7 to Cincinnati, and keeper saves 2-1 to Cincinnati. Duels, Chicago leads the duel battle 18-17. Ground duels 13-11 to Cincinnati. Aerial duels 7-4 Chicago, and successful dribbles 4-1 to Chicago, which lets you know exactly where Chicago has played the majority of the first half. As we take a look around Major League Soccer today, San Jose and Toronto played to a 1-1 draw, as Daniel Soloui scored in the 2nd minute for Toronto, and Preston Judd scored into the 13th minute, and that's how that one ended. Kind of a little disappointing. I was kind of hoping San Jose might do something. Seattle and KC played to a 1-1 draw, as Paul Rothrock scored in the 2nd minute for the Sounders, as Joveljic scored in the 18th minute for Sporting Kansas City, and that one ends in a 1-1 draw. Real Salt Lake beat Portland 2-0 today, as Xavier Gozo scored in the 10th minute, and Diego Luna in the 28th as Real Salt Lake takes all 3 from Portland. How about this one? Orlando City beat Inter Miami today as Martin Ojeda scored a hat trick in the 39th, 68th, and a penalty in the 79th minute, as Tyrese Spicer also scored in the 90+3. Miami had their goals from Ian Frey, Segovia in the 25th minute, and Messi in the 33rd. So how about Orlando City picking up 3 against Miami? That's pretty unreal. As other matches that are almost done in this one, Atlanta United is leading Montreal 3-1 as Saba Lobadanze scored a brace in the 41st, 50th, and Emmanuel Latela in the 45+6. So that's where that one stands, as Montreal got their only goal in the 6th minute from Matty Longstaff. So it looks like Atlanta's going to hold on there. FC Dallas currently lead the New York Red Bulls 2-0, as that one is in the 90+4, as Peter Musa scored in the 54th and Samuel Sarver scored in the 88th minute. So it looks like FC Dallas is going to win that one. Minnesota is currently leading 3-2, and that one is in the 90+2. It still has 5 more minutes left to play, as Kelvin Yeboah scored twice today, the 59th and 66th. And then Anthony Marcanic scored in the 74th, as Columbus got its 2 goals from Taha Harborn in the 31st minute, as Hugo Picard scored in the 56th. So it looks like Minnesota is going to hold on to that one. Let's see. Philadelphia Nashville is in the 90+2, and that one is at 0-0. In the 90+3, New England and Charlotte is 0-0. So it looks like that one has the potential of going scoreless as well too. And currently the 45+6 Houston Dynamo 0-0 with Colorado. Later tonight, San Diego will host LAFC, and the LA Galaxy will host Vancouver. So there you go. Interesting shit right there. Damn, Leagues Cup is going from August 4th to September 6th. They're pushing Leagues Cup back. Well, at least there's going to be some games that are going to be played in Mexico this year. So that's going to be a plus for Leagues Cup. That was my biggest beef with Leagues Cup, was that, Mexican teams didn't necessarily really give a shit about it. And I think, when you're looking across the first 3 editions of Leagues Cup, when you're looking in group play, that's certainly played out in those matches. Not saying that, certain Mexican teams didn't, but, I think it was 2 years ago when San Jose was just absolutely garbage. I remember there was a match against Chivas, and they moved it to Levi Stadium to capitalize on the Chivas fans that were going to be showing up to this one, and they ended up losing 8-0 to San Jose. And you see some of those lopsided scores and some of those group stages. And of course, when you're looking at the Final Four of the Leagues Cup, and 3/4 of it are MLS teams. I think the last couple Final Fours have been MLS teams as well too, and so you can just tell that the want for Mexican teams to compete in that tournament is just not there. But that being said, if the onus, if they're playing south of the border, and the Mexican fans have an opportunity to partake in this tournament, then you would probably assume they're gonna, most of these teams are not going to want to lose on their home field. So you're probably going to see, a lot better score lines when it comes to some of these group stage matches. So I'm pretty happy about that. I'm pretty happy that, the Mexican fans get to partake in this year's edition, as it should be. So it's going to be interesting to see. But, it's a World Cup year, and I was kind of curious to see exactly, how they would play it and where they would play it, and or if they were going to play it all together. And looks like they certainly will. You would think though that maybe maybe they would just put it on hold this year, considering it is a World Cup year, and let some of the teams actually kind of catch a nice little breather. No dice, not when there's money to be made. God damn it! As we are getting set to start the second half here, Chicago and Cincinnati are at a 2-2 draw now. Both Hugo Kuipers and Evander had just stellar first half performances, 2 goals each. But for the most part, what I will say is that it has been a controlled first half. Both teams relying a little bit heavy on the possession. But I will say, as at least Chicago has been, trying to get down that right-hand side, and when they actually have been successful, a lot of goals have been scored by Hugo Kuipers off that. So you can understand they're reliant to continue to attack down that right-hand side. For Cincinnati, it just came from misplayed balls in the midfield by Chicago. They were able just to quickly counter, get in a good position, and Evander was just in the right place at the right time. And that's really all that's needed. But for Chicago, it's kind of cleaning up some of the mistakes on the ball, not giving into the pressure, because we're starting to see a little bit more of that. As that first half was closing down, you saw Cincinnati do a really good job of closing down space, applying pressure, making Chicago either to play it back or try to play it forward. And sometimes they get rushed into passes. So for Chicago, they're going to have to clean that up a little bit. And so Cincinnati is just going to have to take more chances getting forward, because they're really not doing that. Whether it's on true counters or whether that's just in the buildup, they're content just to hold the ball. And to be honest with you, that's not really a good way of winning games. But what do I know? I'm just some dude on YouTube. What I will say is that maybe I'm just that old guy now. Maybe that's just what it is. And, the game used to be a little bit more direct. And, over the course of the last 10 years, you've seen this crazy reliant on possession. And, possession's cool, but unless you're actually doing something with that possession, it makes no sense. On one hand, I understand, right? Because if you hold possession, you're making your defender play you, which means you're potentially running your opponent's energy down a little bit. But that being said, when you're constantly playing the ball back, you're conceding space. And all that does is invite pressure onto the ball. And that's the biggest thing about Cincinnati in that first half is they turned the ball over a lot. And the only saving grace was that Chicago didn't score 4, because there were a few opportunities there that they did have, and they played a ball over the crossbar, or they were lucky enough to get a foul call in the box, when quite honestly there was really no foul. So they were fortunate. And again, if it wasn't for Evander, good Lord, where would Cincinnati be So from that standpoint, yeah, I guess they're a little bit fortunate. But that being said, it's like this over reliance on possession while not doing anything with that ball is eventually going to cost him in this match, because Chicago will take advantage as we are getting set for the second half. I can't see any changes for either team. I think both teams. I think they're probably. I just can't see it. I think both teams, both coaches are going to look at this as, an even match to this stage, and I would probably assume they're going to roll with their 11s at least for another 15 minutes ish. And there's the Chicago faithful. Yeah, I like the drums. I like the supporter drums. That's pretty cool. This dude's wearing a lucha libre mask while playing by hitting the cymbal on top of the drum. He had a saxophone player too. Look at this. Look at Chicago. Look at those supporters. All right, looks like we're ready to start the second half here. What I will say about this ref is at least he hasn't made this match about himself. So that's cool. You figure with a dude with that type of hair, he's going to want to blow his whistle a little bit more. As Chicago now will be playing from right to left, or from left to right, excuse me. As Hugo Kuipers has been an absolute beast in this one. He's been absolutely everywhere. As it looks like Chicago will begin the second half here with possession. And I do want to thank all those that are tuning in on TikTok Live, those that are tuning in on X, and those tuning in on Facebook. Man, this has been fun. As the second half will begin, as Elliott will play this one long, as Hugo Kuipers goes up, and it comes down with Chicago Fire possession, and now Cincinnati will clear it. As Cincinnati did make a substitution at half, as Anunga comes out for Hogland, as Elliott will play this one out. So Cincinnati will have a throw in Chicago territory here. Whew, excuse me. As it'll be Smith throwing this one in for Cincinnati. As we are live from Chicago, Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. As that one will take a little ricochet off of Zickernagel. So Cincinnati will have to throw in yet again. As this one gets played back to Roman Celentano. As this one will get switched. As Cincinnati is fortunate, it is taken away. And Zickernagel's flick on will get taken away. So here comes Cincinnati now. But don't worry. They're not going to press up the pitch. They're going to play it back. Oh, I love it. There was no need to reset. They just do it anyway. Here's Evander. That's a nice little tip forward. Here's Denke. Off the half turn, finds Evander. There's a flick. And that's taken away by Chicago. Ooh. As there's a ball. Oh, Cincinnati did a good job of keeping it in off the left-hand touch line. And then that ball gets played immediately into the box right there by Ramirez. But Chris Brady was there. So this will be a goal kick for Chicago. As Brady will play this long. As that eventually will come down to the fire. Here's Gutman. He's going to play this one forward. As that's well taken away by the fire. As Zickernagel will hold this one in. Play to the right side. Here's Dean. Chips one in, and that's going to go out. And I think this is going to be a Chicago Fire corner, and it will be. As that was headed out by Valenzuela. So Salistros will have yet another corner here. As that one gets played, back post, headed forward and over. And they're going to say this is going to go to Cincinnati, and it looked like actually Cincinnati played it out. Charity. As I want to see this again. Yeah, that kind of went off. It looked like that went off of yeah, Chirilla. As that ball gets played all the way back to Celentano. Speaking of Chirilla. As Chicago still has the probability of winning this one at 45.4%, Cincinnati at 22.6%, but the draw has risen a little bit to 32%. So those looking to spend their money probably could get good odds on Chicago. As here's Evander. He dropped deep to make this touch. Chicago was pressing the ball pretty good. Here's Chirilla, excuse me. As, that was nearly taken away by Chicago. As that ball will go through, finds Denke. Oh, that's good defense by Nkobzi. And Bokasi. And there's a ball that's going to go forward. It does find Zickernagel. Lays it off. Oh, and Halsey Selassie couldn't get to it. And here comes Cincinnati, and it's Evander. Check your drawers. I'm about to shake you. As that ball was too deep for Zickernagel to take a shot on. I can understand why he played it back. But here comes Cincy. As that one will get out of bounds. So this will be a Chicago throw-in. As this one will get thrown back. A certain team from a certain city that begins with a C and ends with an O and has Chicago in the middle is going to win this match. Looks like Mboka Z and Chris Brady were passing it back and forth between each other, but Chicago now is looking to get forward. That's going to be tipped away. Chicago does come away with the ball here. As Zickernagel Plays it forward. Here's Halasi Selassie, and he nearly loses the ball. There is a shot. Ooh, and it just goes wide. It was Salastros pushing it wide left. As there was a little bit of a confusion there with Chicago. As that it looks like Zickernagel was trying to get on his left foot. Kind of relinquished there to Salastros. As Evander still comes away with it. I think there's a whistle. Yeah, they're going to say that one was against Salastros there. So Cincy will have the free kick here. There's the restart. As we're now approaching the 55th minute. As that's a good ball down. Here's Denke. Oh, can't get on. Oh, that's embarrassing. That couldn't get his foot on the ball as he tried to shoot off the half turn. Embarrassing. But Cincinnati comes away with possession here. Here's Ramirez. That's a good ball in the middle. Here's Evander. Check your drawers. As that's a bad pass by Evander. So here comes Salastros. That's a good pass into the mid. Here's Halsi Selassie. Plays it off to the left. Here's Gutman. That's a good pass in. Here's Zickernagel. Woo! And Robin Laud can't. Oh, that sucks. He couldn't lay it back off. So Cincinnati will play it out. So this will be a throw in by Chicago. And it looked like Chicago was about to score their third. That was a good little entry pass in there by Halsi Selassie. That's his name. So here's Dean. Here's the ball in. Here's Salastros. As that'll be tipped out by Ramirez. So this will be a Chicago throw-in. Ooh. And there's going to be a yellow card here. As that was a high boot. Looks like it to the face, too. He's all right, though. Oh, is a red card coming out? I believe somebody's about to get a straight red here. As the physios are out. Who's it going to be against? I think this is going to be against Hagelin. We'll find out. Ref was reaching for his red here. As here's the throw-in. Oh, Smith came up with his boot. Ooh, that's going to be against Smith at least. As that ball came in. And there it is. Smith gets the red. So Cincinnati will be playing down a man here in the 56th. As they are looking at the face. I think maybe of Robin Laud. So Smith is done. As that was a high boot, and it looked like his spikes caught the face of Laud. So we will see. Ooh, oh, wow. Oh, it's right under the eye, too. Ooh, that thing looks. Ooh, that's. Ooh, that doesn't look good either. Looks like he got punched in the face. That thing swelled up, too. Ooh, that's not good. Ooh, that looks sick. Yeah, that thing's swollen up. I can't imagine he continues. Although he would be a badass if he did. Oh, yeah, Smith just got him right there in the eye. So he comes off the pitch here. He's saying he's okay. So maybe he actually does return. I doubt it, but we'll see. So Cincinnati will get the straight red. They're going to be down a man. So this will be a free kick here for Chicago. He's off. So here comes Jonathan Bamba now for Chicago. So Lott is off, Bamba is on. So let's see if Chicago can capitalize. As that's going to play short, there's a shot that's going to take a deflection. Here comes Cincinnati now. And that's taken away right there by Zickernagel. Back pocket picked. Check. Here's Gutman. Fires one, and that is well over the heads of everyone. But here's Salistros. Lays it off for Bamba. Here's Dean. Here's Salistros now. God, you should have played one in, dummy. Here's Dean. Checks one in. That's going to be headed away. And that'll get out. So I think this will be a Chicago corner. As we are now in the 60th minute. For those that are tuning in, score is tied 2-2 as Cincinnati just had a man sent off with a straight red for high spikes to the eyes of Robin Lod. And Lod checks off for Bamba. So Cincinnati is playing the remaining 30 minutes down a man as this one will go well back post. As here's Halassi Selassie, and he plays one across. And this thing is finally going to get cleared, but it's going to be held in by Chicago at midfield. Here's Bamba. As this thing will go to the left, here's Bamba. Plays it back to Gutman. Bamba plays one forward. Nice little flick. Oh, good defense by Cincinnati. Is Chirilla with a good sliding block as Chicago got around the corner there. As that was a nice little flick to play one in, as they did have Hugo Kuipers there. So this will be a corner, and it will be Zickernagel to take the corner for Hickog as this one gets played in. As that'll be headed away, headed on back, as Cincinnati will come away with this now. As you cannot let Cincinnati get comfortable. Here is Evander playing it down to Nem. You can't let Cincinnati just set up. They're down a man for fuck's sake. Apply pressure. Get the ball back. What are you guys doing? As here's Hagelin now. As he will send a switch ball into the left-hand side. There's Dean. Good defense right there by Chicago as Chris Brady now has the ball. You guys have the man advantage. Here's Bamba. That's a good ball. Here's Gutman laying it off. Oh, and Selassie can't even finish. He didn't even take a shot. He tried to pass it, for fuck's sake. That was such a good ball in the box. Good Lord, that was a good pass. Here's D now, off the right-hand side. Here's Ziggernagel. Here's Bamba. Here's Salistros. And that's good defense right there by Cincinnati as Halsey Selassie gets pushed over. That dude's garbage. That's a good play by Geedy. Yeah, that was such a good opportunity for Chicago to get a goal. And Selassie just tried to pass it into Hugo Kuipers instead of taking a shot. As Cincinnati will have the goal kick here. As Evander plays one forward, taken away by Chicago. Here's Bamba. Here's Salistros, plays it to Ziggernagel. He's going to play one in. That's not a good pass in. That's a good little flick onto the outside. Here comes Cincinnati. It's Ramirez. He's going to stop. As Cincinnati now does a pretty good job of pushing this one up the right-hand side. Here's Geedy. Valenzuela to Ramirez. As Valenzuela will chip this one to the right. As that's nearly taken away. And that shot will go wide right. Nearly taken away as Dem played one on. There was just nobody there. And it looks like Miazga is coming in for Cincinnati. Former U.S. men's national team player Matt Miazga is coming in for Chirilla. Excuse me, for Venezuela. So it looks like Cincinnati is bringing on an extra defender here. Down a man, that makes sense. As we are in the 66th minute, here's Zickernagel. Ooh, Chicago will hold on to it. Here's Dean. As Zickernagel will play one in. Ooh, it does find Hugo Kuipers. And Cincinnati will clear this one as that goes out. And they're going to say that was a foul. So I think this will be Cincinnati ball here. As Gutman will come in to try to play this one. But it gets past Hugo Kuipers. And Chirilla will play this back to Celentano. who plays it long. That one will get out. So Denke will have the throw in here. Here's Denke. As Dean is down, so I think there's going to be a foul against Cincinnati. And it's going to be a yellow against Denke. As we are now in the 67.5 minute now. Oh, yeah, he threw his arm back and caught him in the neck. Since Chicago has not done a really good job of taking advantage of the man advantage here. They should be controlling the tempo of this match, and they're really not. Yes, their possession's kind of gone up a little bit. That was expected, but as that free kick went down to Zickernagel, but Cincinnati will come away with it. And here comes Cincinnati now. As that gets played all the way back to Roman Celentano as he plays this one long down the left-hand side. And that gets played out of bounds. So Chicago has the throw-in. For those that have $10,000 to $15,000 available, if you go to FIFAWorldCup.com/hospitality, you can get yourself a really cool hospitality package for the 2026 World Cup if you happen to have that type of cash on you. That's nice that Major League Soccer is doing FIFA's bidding here. As here comes Chicago now. As Zickernagel plays one down the right side to Dean. Back in. Here's Selassie. Throws one. Ooh, nice save right there by Celentano as he put a nice one on. Not exactly the greatest shot. Still, though. Nice little tight shot in space right there. As Chicago does have 6 shots on target to Cincinnati's 3. As Salastros wins a throw-in for Chicago. Chicago will hold possession here. That's a good ball through. Here's Halsey Selassie. Now here's Jonathan Bamba. Bamba tries to dribble around. He does. Here's Elliott, who plays it off to Salastros. Here's Dean. As it's Elliott back to Dean. And Elliott will end up with the ball here as he plays this now over to the left-hand side. There's a good ball in. Tries to find Zickernagel. Hugo Kuipers still with it. Kuipers chips it forward. Salastros chips one up. Taken away by Gutman. Here's Bamba. Tries to play one forward, but it's with Giddy and he clears it. Chicago comes away with it. As they play it off to the left, here's Gutman. That's a decent ball through as it's played back. Here's Bamba. As Bamba plays one forward. Oh, nice. As Chirilla steps in front of it. That looked nice. That looked pretty. That will get out. I think this will be a Chicago throw-in. It will be. As Bamba has to play this one back. Here's Dean on the right-hand side, plays it forward. Here's Zickernickel. Now it's Salastros. Trying to dribble through two defenders, and he loses it. Chicago comes away with it, and it's Zickernickel who wins the ball. That's a good shift forward. Here's Dean. As Zickernickel tries to play one to the back post. And I think this is going to be a corner kick here for Chicago, as we are now in the 70, approaching the 73rd here in Soldier Field. As this will be Chicago's 8th corner of the match here. As Chicago is looking for the go-ahead here. As this one gets whipped in, headed on down. Ooh! Ooh, that did find Salastros, and he puts it over the crossbar. It looked initially like somebody got on it. Yeah, it was Chirilla. So this will be a goal kick for Cincinnati. Two goals apiece in the first half by both sides. 2 by Kuipers, 2 by Evander. In the second half, both teams' defenses have actually done pretty well. As Chicago's pretty much controlled the possession since Smith has been out. As he gets sent off with a straight red, Chicago has had trouble breaking down Cincinnati. As that's a turnover right here. Here's Evander now. Evander dribbling forward. He tries to chip it, as it looks like it'll take a deflection off of Kevin Denke. As it looks like Evander was trying to chip it to the far post. As it took a deflection off of Denke, though. So here comes Chicago now, as it's Dean down the right-hand side. Lays it off to Zickernickel. He's got the overlap. Oh, he tried to play one into Salastros, but Dean takes it away. Here's Zickernickel. He's going to shoot. That's going to take a deflection. Here's Dean. Plays it in. And Salase plays it out. Not exactly the greatest pass. By Dean, but yeah, Zickernickel had, Salasi had nowhere to go with that one. Here's Ramirez. Nine of Cincinnati's 18 goals have been scored in the final 15 minutes of their matches. And if Chicago drops this one to Cincinnati, who's down a man, I'm going to be very put off by that. As that ball is headed forward. As that'll get out, so Chicago will have the throw in here. As it looks like Cincinnati will make a couple switches here. As it looks like Barlow's coming in. And Jabari are going to come in for Dem and Denke. So we'll see if Chicago can get this one done, or if this thing is going to end up in a draw. Or if, God forbid, Cincinnati gets one late. Here's Dean off the right-hand side now. There's a chip in. Kuipers. But right at Celentano. As Kuipers got a first half brace. As there's going to be a whistle. As that'll go against Chicago. So Cincinnati will have a free kick. As it looks like it's Jabari who's down. And he's up. So this will be a free kick for Cincinnati. We'll see if Chicago can defend this one. As we are now in the 78th minute. As they're going to say this one was against Gutman there. Although, yeah, that really wasn't a foul. So Evander will have the free kick here. As that one will go in. As Chris Brady will tip it. As that'll go out. Good goalkeeping there by Chris Brady. As Evander put a good free kick on it. It looks like Barlow was there. So this will be a corner now. As this is Cincinnati's first corner of the match. As Evander will take it, obviously. As this one will go in. Headed away. Kept in. And now it's taken away by Chicago. But there's a deflection, and Chris Brady will come away with it. So here comes Chicago now. Here's Dean. As the MLS match of the week, Sunday night soccer will be, Austin versus St. Louis? Ooh. As that was a good ball in. As that was headed away by Matt Miazga. Ooh, here's Salistros. And his shot is nowhere near target. Good give and go right there, though. As we are now in the 80th minute, 10 minutes remain. As the match is still deadlocked at 2. And it looks like Zickernagel is down. But he's up. Some dude is wearing a Hartford Whalers jersey. That's pretty sick. Celentano now will play this long. And that's going to get out. So Chicago will have a throw-in. Celentano tripped on that goal kick. Here's Zickernagel. Tries to chip it forward. Taken away by Chicago. Here's Salistros. Here's Zickernagel. Tries to play it forward. Has Salistros. And there's nobody there except for Celentano. Not exactly the greatest through ball right there. Here comes Cincinnati. It's Evander. As they play it out to the right. And now they'll play it all the way back. as Chirilla tries to play it forward. As that ball is taken away from Jabari. And here comes Chicago. Here's Bamba. Up the left to Selassie. Tries to play it in. Here's Zickernagel. Tries to shoot. That's going to take a deflection, so it'll be a corner. Not a bad little pass right there by Selassie. So Chicago will have their 1 millionth corner of the game. Eventually, sun shines on a dog's ass, right? They'll eventually find a way in. As that will go near post. Nope, I was wrong. But Chicago will come away with this as they're going to play this one back all the way back to Chris Brady. And here's Dean. Salastros to Zickernagel. That's a good little flick forward. Here's Salastros. Tries to play it in. Here's Zickernagel. Puts one. Oh, what a save by Celentano. Gets a hand on it. That sure was a goal right there. As Zickernagel had an opportunity. Here's Bamba with the chip. There's nobody there, but that's going to go all the way back and out of play for a throw-in. Here's Salastros. As they'll work this way down the left-hand side, here's Bamba. As here's Dean as they're attacking down this right-hand side again. Salastros. Here's Dean. Chips one in. That's headed up. As Hugo Kuipers completely misses. So this will be a goal kick. Oh, that's a hell of a save by Celentano. Saving a goal. As we're in the 85th now. As Celentano will play it long. Headed down. And there's a whistle as Elliott goes down. And it's looking like this is going to end in a 2-2 draw. Unless something miraculous happens. Here's Zickernagel. As Chicago plays it to the left. Here's Gutman. As Bamba tries to chip one forward. Finds Selassie. And he shoots. And he's off target. I think he might have been offside. That Selassie sucks. As this corner will go down. And it'll be out of play. So this will be another goal kick. For Cincinnati as we're approaching the 87th minute. As Cincinnati will make another change as Lahar comes in. as Ramirez goes out. As Celentano will play this one long down the left-hand side, as that'll go out. So this will be a Chicago throw-in. As this one gets played all the way back to Chris Brady. So here comes Elliott now. He's got space to operate. As that ball will go all the way long. Finds Zickernagel. Here's Salastros now. Back to Zickernagel. As those two get crossed up, and that goes out of bounds. Oh. So Cincinnati. That was funny. Those two run into each other. As they're replaying Hugo Kuiper's first goal. That was a good assist. But Chicago comes away with it now. As play resumes, we are now coming up to the 89th minute now. Here's Gutman. As they play this one over to Elliott. Here's Dean. Chipped forward to Zickernagel. As he's down, I think there's going to be a foul and a yellow card. I think they're calling a penalty. That's what I think is going on here. I think the ref signal for a penalty is that ball was placed in the box here. Yeah, as it looks like Lahar stepped on Zickernagel's foot. Oh, dang. I think Chicago is getting a penalty here. In the 90th minute. So Hugo Kuipers is going to take the penalty here. To put Chicago in the lead. And this would bag his hat trick too. Holy shit. Holy shit. So Hugo Kuipers will get the penalty now. Kuipers versus Celentano. Here we go. Oh, Celentano. Oh. Oh. What a save. Oh. Oh. How did Chicago not score? Celentano saved the original penalty off of Kuipers. Hugo, you fucked up. As Hugo Kuipers to give Chicago the lead goes left. Celentano makes a hell of a save. But then the rebound goes into a dangerous area and they can't score. Oh. And here comes Cincinnati now. Here's Lahar. Puts one in. Oh, nearly given away. And now they're going to give a yellow against Chris Brady. And are they giving Cincinnati a penalty? As Buka is down. What is going on? All right, so there's the play in. All right. And so they're saying I didn't necessarily see the foul, but Buka's down. The physios are out. Yeah, you're going to have to go to VAR on this bad boy. You're going to have to confirm this motherfucker. All right, so this all goes in. It's taken care of decently. So here's Davila, and he has a hard touch, and he tries to clear it. And they're saying that, okay, so here's this ball. Okay, here's Davila. Oh, but he gets there first, and he clears the ball. And what are they giving Chris Brady the yellow for? As Davila was there. So now they're giving Cincinnati the penalty. This is insane. By the way, there was 7 minutes of added time. And we're at the 94 and a half. As Buka stays down. And yeah, I think they're giving Cincinnati the penalty now, as Evander will step up, looking for his hat trick. Oh, and if Chicago loses this way, oh, that's terrible. Although they did have the penalty, though. They could have won it. And Kuiper's missed. So Buka is up. I'm telling you what, man, those small shin pads will get you every time. And are they really giving Cincinnati a penalty here? Oh, this is harsh. So yeah, they're giving Cincinnati the penalty here. So now it's Evander versus Brady. And Evander, his hot spots are to the right. So Chris Brady, go right. Go right. Check your drawers. Check your drawers because it's Evander. Here we go. Oh, and he chips it right down the right. I told you go right, dummy. As Cincinnati grabs the lead now in the 96+3. Ah! How did Chicago lose it? As Evander gets the hat trick. As Cincinnati, who was not the best team tonight. Oh, I can't believe they gave him the penalty. And Evander just chips it down the right, and it's like, dude, he's going right. Ah, tough loss for Chicago, although, yeah. Oh, but they'll play a few extra minutes here. And now Chicago's got to get forward. As that'll fall to Geedy. Here comes Buka. Oh, yeah. Now you're good. Actually, it's not Buka. That's taken away, though, by Chicago. Here comes Gutman. But Buka's still out there, so yeah, he is good. That's taken away by Cincinnati now. Oh. That's a tough way to lose, but again, Chicago had the opportunity. Here comes Chicago now. Zickernagel tries to play one through. It's taken away. As Zickernagel pickpockets Evander. Oh, and that'll get out. As this will be a goal kick, so this thing is looking pretty close to over now. Chicago was the better team and lost. Yeah, dumb referees. As that one will go down to Jabari. Taken away by Selassie here. As Chicago's down to their final moments here. Gutman plays one forward. Finds Zickernagel. Plays one forward. Here's Salistros. Chips it to back post, and there's Roman Celentano. As they're looking for the final whistle here. As Brady will come out. It's Gutman. As De Villa. That was brutal. Here's Selassie. But you can't give up a penalty in that manner. Here's Bamba. Bamba. Cuts. Chips. Ooh, and he almost scored. Zickernagel just missed the post. Oh. He just missed the post. Just wide left. Looking for a redirect. As we're now in the 100 and a half. As they're just fishing. Cincinnati's fishing for the final whistle. As Jabari comes away with it. As that gets out. It'll be Cincinnati ball. As Cincinnati comes from the dead to win this thing. And now they're just going to waste time. Why not? As this ball will go all the way forward. Comes down to Buka, the guy who acted and got the penalty. As that one will go out. This will be a Cincinnati throw in here. As that goes out, so this will be a Chicago throw in. As Chicago is on life support. Here comes Bamba. And he's got to play one forward. Headed forward, trying to find Kuipers, but finds Roman Celentano. as he plays this long. As Chicago will come away with it, as this ball will go forward. Headed down. Taken away by Chicago. No whistle yet. Here's Selassie. As that's headed away, but kept in by Chicago. Here's Gutman. There's a shot that will go way, way, way right, wide right. So this will be a goal kick now. And there's your final whistle. As FC Cincinnati will come away with a 3-2 victory over Chicago in Chicago. And that was just a shitty way for Chicago to lose. But again, they had the opportunity. They got the penalty late. And Hugo Kuipers couldn't close it away. And on the very next possession, Cincinnati draws the penalty. And Evander was available to close it out. And so there's your final scores. Cincinnati wins this thing 3-2. As Evander will finish with a hat trick. As Kuiper finishes with 2, both Chicago goals, and Smith goes out with a straight red in the 56th minute. But Chicago actually was the better team throughout. But again, these things happen in Major League Soccer. So let's get to the stats. Chicago wins the possession battle 56-44. They win the XG battle 3.71 to 1.74. Total shots, Chicago had 32 total shots to Cincinnati's 10. Shots on target, 10-4 to Chicago. Big chances, 3-2 to Chicago, but Chicago missed 2. Accurate passes, 428 to 358 to Chicago. Fouls committed, Chicago 12, Cincinnati 5. Corners, Chicago had 10 to Cincinnati's 1. XG from open play, 2.33 for Chicago to 0.90 for Cincinnati. XG on set play, 0.60 to 0.05. Oh, that's crazy. Let's see. Yeah, shots on target, 10-4 Chicago. Block shots, 8-4 to Chicago. Shots inside the box, 25-3 Chicago. Shots outside the box, 7 apiece. Total passes, 503 to Chicago to 419. Passes in the own half, Cincinnati 244 to 160. That's hilarious. Passes in the opposition half, 268 to 113. Accurate long balls, 26-18 to Cincinnati. Accurate crosses, 11-0 to Chicago. That's insane as well, too. Throws 22-15. And touches in the opposition box, 64 to 12 to Chicago. Hilarious. And they couldn't find the winning goal. Yellow cards, 3-1 for Cincinnati. And of course, they got the red card as well, too. That makes it even more hilarious is the fact that Chicago played a man up for 35 minutes and couldn't find the winner. On the defensive side of the ball, tackles, Chicago won that battle 17-8. Interceptions, Cincinnati had 16-5. That's crazy. Blocks 8-3 Cincinnati, and clearances 32-12 to Cincinnati. Keeper saves 8-1 to Cincinnati. Duels, Chicago won the duel battle 43-42. They won the ground duel battle 28-26. Aerial duels 16-15 to Cincinnati, and both teams had 7 apiece on successful dribbles. That's insane. Freaking sane. Ugh, terrible. What are you going to do? So with that win, Cincinnati will pull up 2 points behind Chicago into 5th place. So there you go. As we look at matches around Major League Soccer today, Toronto and San Jose played to a 1-1 draw. My Sounders and Sporting KC played to a 1-1 draw this afternoon as well, too. Real Salt Lake beat Portland 2-0 as Xavier Gozo and Diego Luna both scored for Real Salt Lake. So that was pretty awesome. Orlando City beating Miami 4-3 today on a hat trick for Martin Ojeda. That dude's sick. And that's actually kind of a big win for Orlando City. Atlanta United did hold on to a 3-1 victory over Montreal. FC Dallas beat the New York Red Bulls 2-0 today. That's no surprise. Minnesota holds on to beat Columbus 3-2. Philadelphia Nashville finished in a 0-0 draw. New England did beat Charlotte 1-0 today as Carlos Gil scored the 90+7 on a penalty. So congratulations to the Rev. They're playing well this year. Houston Dynamo beat the Colorado Rapids today 1-0 as Lawrence Anelli scored in the 72nd minute for the Dynamo. So they pick up 3. Currently right now in the 48th minute, San Diego FC leads LAFC as Marcus Ingvartsen scored in the 7th minute for San Diego. So there you go. And then kicking off already is the Galaxy versus Vancouver. So interesting match tonight as Chicago. Now, here's the interesting thing. Chicago was the better team. And they actually had a lot of very good, high-quality chances. They just couldn't finish. And even in that second half, as Cincinnati pretty much bunkered because they lost a man, Chicago still had very good quality chances to put this one away. They just couldn't do it. And so on the one hand, Chicago has nobody else to blame but themselves, but they were still, even when they were on even strength, they were still the better team. And, Cincinnati really just was not pushing forward. The 2 goals they scored in the first half were coming, essentially came off Chicago mistakes. And so from that standpoint, again, I guess Chicago has nobody else to blame but themselves. But that being said, when you're the dominant team playing in their half, there's really no excuse. And so, yeah, it's too bad. But that's going to do it for me, guys. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up this weekend on Stateside Footy. Tomorrow is the Hotspur live stream as Spurs look to get back-to-back wins for the first time in 26. As they look to stave off relegation in the Premier League. Later tomorrow night, it is the U.S. M&T year-end grades as the report cards come out for players in our pool as we discuss who had good years and who had mediocre years. That's going to be fun. And then, of course, on Monday will be the conversation with Fabian Rankel about the Vancouver Whitecaps situation. So that's going to be an excellent conversation. So please make sure that you guys tune in for that one because that's going to be absolutely a fantastic conversation. So there's plenty coming up here on Stateside Footy. So please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, hit that notification bell. So as a quick recap, Chicago fumbles the bag tonight as Cincinnati will pick up all 3 points, move into 5th place in the Eastern Conference. And man, good live stream tonight, guys. So thank you guys again for joining me. Take care, guys, tonight. Good night.
Rusted goalposts under fading skies. Tattered flags waving dreams in our